Hello, Mr. Miyamoto. I'd like to talk to you about the initiative to continue the F-Zero series. What's that? You want new innovations? What's that? You want motion controls? What's that? You want the new Switch 2 to cook a souffle while you get first place? Don't worry about all that. All the information will be in this briefcase when we meet in a few months. Hopefully, maybe the meeting gets delayed a bit. We could start with an email, no worries. Honestly, if you just release F-Zero GX for sale again, that's already on the path of the right direction. That's already no booster energy required. That is a first place finish line guarantee. Not just to Miyamoto, but Nintendo. Talk to Sega again. You guys made one of the best games of all time. Speaking of one of the best games of all time, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask turned 25 years. And just like me needing to put a spit guard on my microphone, you would think that a double take might be a bit alarming. What? Ocarina of Time all over again? No. The cool part about Majora's Mask is that they take the resources of what's considered one of the best games of all time, and they make another one of the best games of all time. They keep at it. It's great. It's awesome. And to this day is regarded as some of the best atmospheric gameplay. You know, I was going to say gaming, but you know, like at its depth, gameplay. Like immersive gameplay. It's some of the best atmospheric gameplay that you could find, along with Ocarina of Time. And I think Wind Waker and Twilight Princess really do complete a quartet, a Hero of Time quartet. That type of Zelda unique atmosphere and game design, I think, is really distinct for those four. Not that the other games are bad, it's just obviously those games do anchor around the Hero of Time, and there's a lot of elements there. Specifically, this game that turned 25 in the year 2000, when there already was, you know, this is obviously after we, you know, knock on wood, survived Y2K, right? And Majora's Mask is all about Doomsday. And so it came out, you know, many months after, you know, that Y2K scare, going into, you know, the next millennium. And so you kind of ask, you know, what was this done on purpose? And there probably was some inspiration, because I think what's interesting is, you know, we had an awful pandemic that started 5 years ago. We had the scare of 2012 and the scare of Y2K 12 years before that. And what's interesting is when you study how humanity reacts to this, there's a, you know, it's a test of humanity. It's a test to see what they do when challenge is faced in their direction. When, in this case, for Majora's Mask, the challenge is right above your head. Majora's Mask aces humanity, which is so fascinating because its art style and aesthetic is so distinct. It's not grounded in that hyper-realism that AAA games are trying to achieve by having every pore and wrinkle in the protagonist's body be super distinguished so that stock owners can keep rising in value for the company. No, Majora's Mask is one of the most real games because the creators understand the artistic passion to keep pushing for strong narrative, strong humanity in characters that aren't human, but they share traits of it. They're self-aware, and that self-awareness is something you can tap into as you interact and immerse yourself in the environment. My favorite, you know, character is the Deku royal family, a plethora of characters in Zelda. The Deku Scrubs weren't a society in Ocarina of Time. A few of them would talk to you, especially the business scrubs. But by the time of Majora's Mask, the designers took it upon themselves to create a society just like the Gorons and Zoras, which show up in this game as well. And what's cool is the Deku Scrubs, once again, you know, they talk, you have merchants, but those merchants also talk about things like the one in Clocktown having a wife. You know, he's got his secret getaway home. He does a lot of, you know, business outside of Clocktown. The whole Moon's Tier quest is about like an engagement item, an engagement gift for that, you know, business scrub's wife. That alone is already adding a lot of humanity, and that's one of the first Deku Scrubs you meet. But then you go to Southern Swamp and you find out there's a whole kingdom of them. And the emotion of humanity that they are invoking is when you know, people are prone to anger when things don't go their way and they react angrily. The thing about that is, it's been talked about a lot, and I'm going to talk about it again because it's so important how much Majora's Mask nails the atmosphere of the 5 stages of grief. When you get to Clock Town, people are in denial. You know, there's a moon that's slowly, coming down closer and closer to them. A lot of people are denying it. Some are worried. And then obviously as the days go by, it gets worse and worse. When you go to the next area, which is, Woodfall, Southern Swamp, the Deku Kingdom there, the Deku King is angry. He thinks that the monkey ate his daughter, right, in that whole quest. So that part of humanity in that stage of grief, he's angry. He might be angry with the world in general because the swamp is also poisoned. Link has to observe and press on. And as he presses on, as he heals the swamp, the Deku King realizes that, he made a huge mistake. The monkey is easy to forgive. That right there is a core part of good humanity, is that even when someone was lashing out at you, you can be the better man, or in this case, the better monkey, and forgive them. Link moves on to Snowhead, and then he encounters the Goron society that is now dealing with bargaining. Their area is covered in an awful blizzard. Food is scarce, and their hero has tragically passed away. And a lot of them don't know that. Most of them don't know that he has passed away. So some of them, obviously, most of them know by the time you're there. But when the blizzards start happening, as far as some of the Gorons know, the hero, right, Darmani, he ventures off to fight against the blizzard, but he never comes back. And so the element here is that by the time Link arrives, so, there are quite a few of them that understand that he's gone. He has a memorial built for him. Which is sad. And so by that time, they're starting to really bargain. They're trying to understand, what can we do now, right? And Link presses on. Link continues, and he solves the blizzard crisis for them. You start seeing Goron celebrate, throw races. It's a good time. It's a great way to depict that someone like Link can show up and instill hope in others, that there's still joy in the world. Link moves on to Great Bay, Zora Hall, and he encounters what's, depicted as depression. Lulu loses her eggs to pirates, and, she doesn't even speak anymore. And she's a lead singer of a big band in the world of Termina. And, the land of Termina. But that world, that kind of, universe that Majora's Mask takes place in, the alternate dimension, as a lot of people have realized compared to Hyrule, she's pretty popular there. She definitely is an icon, and so the fact that she has now lost her voice makes impact for the designers to show how much humanity is depicted with these stages of grief. But Link continues. He keeps pressing on. He meets Mikau, who unfortunately passes away, but he understands that Link wants to help. And just like, Darmani and the Deku Butler's son, Link's able to, carry their spirits on in the forms of masks, which is awesome. I love the way that Majora's Mask almost feels like an RPG where Link's traveling with 3 other people. 3 other people that want to do right. The Deku Butler's son brought a lot of joy for his father and other people. And you see that once you help Southern Swamp out, things ease a bit, and the Deku Butler talks about how much Link reminds him of his son. Again, that kind of glimmer of hope, that glimmer of kind memories amongst such an angry, bask of toxic swamps and wrongful defamation of character that could lead to, murder. But all that's gone as Link keeps persevering. And at Great Bay, he was able to, handle the fog crisis, recover the eggs, and Lulu singing again. He comes to Icana Canyon, the 4th big area of the game, depicting the 5th stage of grief, which is acceptance. But there's an interesting twist in this form of acceptance. A lot of these characters you encounter in Icana Canyon are already dead. But that form of being undead is a curse from Majora, the main antagonist of the game. Majora's Mask introduced a pretty Lovecraftian form of horror for the Legend of Zelda series. And while my good friend Cameron, Udonga64, talked to me about how, Link's Awakening kind of first pressed the concepts of existentialism. I won't spoil the game, but Yeah, I can see that, and there's a lot of people that worked on Link's Awakening that ended up working on Majora's Mask. Majora's Mask took that and dialed it up to 11. It is full on existentialism, but it's also full on humanity, the drive to keep going. So Link keeps going, Icana Canyon, meeting all these people that understand that they should be dead. But they also see, Link's courage, Link's willpower. And so they help him out. He gets the final temple mask. He fights Majora, and spoilers, he wins. But Link's not after winning. He's not after the glory. That's what's such an interesting part of his character is, in Majora's Mask, there's no prophecy for the Triforce of Power, the Triforce of Wisdom. Heck, we don't even know if Link fully has the Triforce of Courage because of the way the Ocarina of Time ended, the way that the Sacred Realm works. But regardless, Link embodies what the Triforce of Courage is. Even if he doesn't have it, he has it. And so when you bring something that's not a prophecy into a whole new world, and you can demonstrate that courage can inspire others to keep going, that's a powerful message. That's a powerful message of humanity. That's a powerful message for people playing Nintendo games at a young age, at an old age, and understanding that there's a lot of beautiful things in this world, and no matter what hardships come our way, we can keep going. There's so much value in the friends and family members we have around us. So many joys we can get each day by just getting out of bed, going outside for a bit, making some coffee, going for a walk, going to the store. There's a lot of great things that you can just find from those small things you think that don't make a big difference, but they do. The things you say make a difference. Your actions make a difference. And the fact that Link saved an entire world and he's looking for his friend just to go on and persevere, and I won't spoil, Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, but, there's definitely some tragedy involved with those stories depicted that started with Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. But regardless, Link is regarded as a legend. He's not in it for the glory. It's just his actions naturally bring upon a story worth telling about. I think the big thing for Majora's Mask is humanity. And I've talked about it in the past. One of the themes is the happy mask salesman telling you to keep having faith, to keep persevering. And while he is definitely considered one of the most unnerving video game characters ever made, I actually think his ambitions are more good than people theorized. For years, people were like, oh, is he evil? He's a big bad. The manga tries to hint at that. Obviously, the manga isn't canon, but all these different interpretations. And I honestly think 25 years later, you can look back and understand that, while yes, he's kind of meant to be a bit unnerving, I don't think he's evil. In fact, I actually do think he has pretty good ambitions as being a businessman that wants to bring happiness and joy to the world, but he kind of understands the dark elements of things like Majora's Mask, and he understands the dark elements of hopelessness. The Song of Healing is so fascinating because Link comes across different characters, and he uses the Song of Healing to help them. And I talked about this a while back, but one of my most favorite moments in video games, that's in one of my most favorite video games ever, is when you get to Icana Canyon and you meet the composer brother Sharp, who definitely should not be there, as he says, with that curse of, rising the undead, making them go amongst the living, right? And you try to play the Song of Healing for him, and it doesn't work. I love that. I love that subvertive expectations the designers put in that game. This is towards the end of the game. This is section 4 of the 4 big sections. And so you think it would, but he laughs at you. He laughs at the Song of Healing, and he continues trying to curse you, trying to kill you. Then, usually the player has a lot of hearts, so they tend to escape in time. And when they escape, if they keep going, they hopefully find the grave of his brother. And his brother has written a new song called the Song of Storms. And obviously it's fascinating to kind of gauge that Link has known this song before. But in this dimension, the Song of Storms is written by Flat, which maybe he wrote it, maybe his Hylian incarnation wrote that as well. Regardless, that song was written by, a brother that felt sorrow for his brother. And when you play that Song of Storms for Sharp, it pierces his soul. It's not only a power of music thing, but it's a power of humanity. A part of his humanity he didn't know was still there, which reminds you about the power of friends and family around you. What our purpose is each day to keep going. So even if there isn't a prophecy for the Triforce of Courage that's enacting upon the world of Termina from Link, he keeps going, and he keeps inspiring other people to do the right thing. I love Majora's Mask. I love Ocarina of Time. The Legend of Zelda is a great series, and Majora's Mask took elements from Ocarina of Time in a limited amount of time to make one of the best games ever made. So good that Wind Waker and Twilight Princess I think are also some of the best games ever made, and learned the elements of Majora's Mask to make for their own interpretations while staying consistent and respecting those first two N64 games. It's a joke they're rated E, because I definitely think they're the best rated horror E-rated games. But that's the thing, is that the designers took care of that atmosphere. They cared to put they took it seriously. That type of assignment to make a good Zelda game about existential horror is important. It's important to commit to it, not make some ironic joke about it, not to make some mockery of it, but it took itself seriously. And by taking itself seriously, players took it seriously on average. And it created the canvas for one of the best games ever made, to the point that 25 years later, we would love another game in this aesthetic. There's definitely a framework to make a trilogy out of this, and you can use the 3DS visuals. What I love about the remakes is that they kept the sound design from the N64 games, and I think that's a good testament to how well and ambitious the sound design was at the time, and the music. As its whole package, Majora's Mask leaves players understanding that despite the hardships, despite what's looming over you at the top, despite what's tragically happening to others around you, you are Link, and you have the power to make a difference by just keep going forward. That's kind of the beautiful thing of it. There's all these different items Link can use. There's all these different transformations, and you see this timer at the bottom, but at the end of the day, you keep taking those steps forward, and you're already making progress. You just keep trying, you keep at it, and it's just great to see that a character like Link has become so timeless. And I think that depiction of him being the embodiment of the Triforce of Courage is well tested in a game that often shows people losing faith in what can help them. We might not always have someone like Link show up in our lives, but if we understand the power that we have to make a difference each day, I think the Triforce of Courage can be with all of us. I love Mondays.